Those of you that have been following these reviews recently will notice I've come to a point in most shows where something comes along and I'm not going to dwell on it, I'm not going to rant about it, but I'm just going to skip it because I don't care. Or I don't care bordering on I don't want to see it anymore. Bianca Belair, the Forgotten Sons, thankfully both of them have gone to the main roster now. More recently, Dexter Lumis in his singles matches. There's been a couple of the Indus Sheer tag team where the most entertaining thing is the manager. Thankfully, this is a big change from last week, a big change of the mood of last week, let's be real for a second. There was none of that on this show tonight. There was a lot of moving parts and a little bit of what the fuck, but I won't be skipping anything. So that's got to be something, right? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It is your buddy, it is your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, April 22 NXT review. That's what we're doing right now. We're going to get the house cleaning out of the way first. I haven't done this in a little while. If you're listening to this in an audio platform and you want to find me on YouTube, go to YouTube, look up Spaz Phoenix. If you're watching me right now, I'm a pretty sexy face in the gimmick hat. You want to find me in an audio platform instead because it's not pretty and the gimmick hat isn't so great. Go to Spotify, iTunes, all those other places where you find your podcast and search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you want to find me on YouTube, there is a Spaz Phoenix Podcast group. There is Twitter, which is Spaz Phoenix 1, just Spaz Phoenix and the number 1. Also Spaz Phoenix on Instagram. So haven't pushed those in a little while, so I should push those. Tentative programming notes for next week. To those of you the previous week that came out when Kristen and I restarted the movie reviews on this channel, we've called it the Flicks Fix. Yes, it's lame. No, I'm not changing it. All things being equal, we should be knocking out another one this weekend, and it'll go up sometime next week. I think when I have a Flicks Fix video for you guys, the time for that is going to be 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. Obviously, that's Toronto time. Also, for those of you itching for some AEW content, I'm also trying to get together with Guapo. We've got a topical AEW video that we've been looking to knock out for the longest time. Now, both of those are pending, 3 people in 3 different places in the world trying to mesh 3 different schedules. It never really works in my favor, as you guys know, but tentatively, I'm hoping to have both of those for you guys for next week, along with next week's NXT review. And as we will talk about at the end of this video, next week's episode of NXT is pretty stacked, let's just say. Starting off tonight, though, with the typical highlight video of last week. We kicked off the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament with, who was it? It was Swerve and Tozawa, wasn't it? Where we got the second iteration of the Wonton Senton. Moving on, we had Dream confronting Balor, which leads you to believe that we're going to get Dream and Balor tonight, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And we had Karrion Kross attacking Tommaso Ciampa. No Karrion Kross on this show tonight. I'm going to say something here. We always moan and groan when WWE renames somebody that we love, or more so you guys, because I don't know most of these people other than Shotzi Blackheart, who we're also going to talk about in a second. But to the people out there that are upset that Killer Kross is not Killer Kross anymore, this is the NXT that they are putting out to the masses. This is not secondary NXT UK that really still exists only on the network, where they do have Killer Kelly, so I get the hypocrisy there. But this one is on USA Network. It's on Sportsnet 360 in a shortened version for me in Canada because we got fucked on that deal. But this is the version of NXT that lives on regular TV. So this is where you're not going to get a wrestler, especially one that's going to get pushed as much as I predict this guy's going to get pushed, who's got Killer in his name. It's just not going to happen. Now, if we didn't have Killian Dane already on the roster, I would have pushed, instead of Karrion, because I don't know where Karrion comes from unless there's some sort of significance to it, I would have loved Karrion Kross, because it's pretty damn close to Killer Kross, is it not? But it is what it is. Starting off the show proper, we see a shot backstage of Finn Balor's dressing room. It's all been torn up, and there's even a torn Finn Balor flag, and Finn Balor's missing, and something has happened. Spoiler alert, we never actually find out what happened to him. But we have Velveteen Dream in the ring, and he's doing the Balor pose on the turnbuckle, although it's hard to see because the lights are out and he's dressed all in black, and it's really hard to see what he's doing at first until the commentators, I can speak, I swear, literally bring it to our attention, and he just keeps on repeating the same phrase, and I didn't get it at first, and then I started to get it, and then I started to think it was really clever. He kept on saying over and over again, new levels, new devils, but the same old demons. New levels, new devils, but the same old demons. He's going to another level. He wants to be the NXT champion. He's got new devils, which means he's never really faced Finn Balor before, but he's the same old Finn Balor, i.e. he hasn't really changed, even though he has changed a whole lot. So it's really, really good. And he's about to go into a big long diatribe about how the Dream has been stood up by the Demon, because they made the reference last week, didn't they, about you're going to get a date with the Prince, and Velveteen Dream answered, you know, why don't you pick me up next week? So the date metaphor is getting a bit overused. But Dream says he's been stood up by the Demon and he's cut off by Adam Cole. Adam Cole, who hasn't been in-house at Full Sail for a long time, and he just says, look, a lot of people were saying that the winner of the match between you and Finn Balor is going to be the #1 contender to my title. I find it very, very convenient in that case that Balor's suddenly unavailable. Do you think this automatically puts you in line for my title? Dream all you want, but I am the reality, and the reality is you are not worthy of a title shot. You're never going to get a title shot, etc. Strong, Fish, Cole, they hit the ring, they triple team Velveteen Dream. That rhymed, I didn't even mean it to. And the save is made by Keith Lee, who clears the ring and pounces Cole. He didn't quite pounce him into the audience, because, hey, there's no audience. But, hey, it was a nice, quick, it was good, because Velveteen Dream, in his promo last week, I mentioned it, and I sort of ripped him a little bit. His gimmick requires an audience. So for his opening thing tonight to be really short, sweet, and to the point, cut off by Cole, quick brawl, and move on, was a nice move. It means they're paying attention to what people are saying. I'm not saying that they're listening to me specifically. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I mean, they might. Hi, WWE. But in general, that was a big thing. Like, we don't want to see Velveteen Dream live because his gimmick requires an audience. And his promo last week, calling out Adam Cole, who wasn't even there, proved it, because he did look really out of place cutting that promo, especially at that podium. I don't know why they're doing the weird podium thing. It's another story for another day. But we get the first match of the night. We get my girl Shotzi Blackheart teaming up with Tegan Nox to form the team that I lovingly called the Ballsy Wizards, taking on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. And it wasn't a squash, it wasn't a short match, but it felt short. It felt, even though it went over 2 segments, like there's a commercial break in the middle we're going to talk about, even though it went 2 segments, this match feels like it got in, did what it needed to do, and got out, which is nice. It's a nice feeling to have. Gonzalez and Nox start. There's a low drop kick by Nox. There's a series of kicks and a drop kick by Shotzi, followed by an arm drag, a pump kick, and a Hurricane Rana Bulldog senton by Shotzi. I can speak, I swear. Inside out splash to the floor by Shotzi as we go to commercial break. We come back from commercial break. There's a backbreaker by Gonzalez, a bicycle kick by Kai, Insiguri by Shotzi, a series of strikes by Nox, followed by a wicked head. Tegan Nox is not a huge person, but she pulls off the headbutt. There's another headbutt we're going to talk about later on as well that's pulled off by another person that's not that big. But the headbutt that Tegan Nox does, the look on her face when she does it, it's sort of like when she does the choke slam, because the Lady Kane references are obviously there. And the idea of her doing a choke slam is kind of laughable, and I say that in the most respectful way possible. But as soon as she goes to do it, you believe it. Same thing with the headbutt here. The look on her face was killer. I can't read my own writing. Corner Insiguri by Nox, a fall-away slam by Gonzalez. Top rope Fez press by Shotzi. But this wicked one-arm toss-up powerbomb by Gonzalez gets the win for Gonzalez and Kai. Now, apparently Gonzalez is never going to have her own entrance music or her own entrance anything, because it's just Dakota Kai's music and both of them on the Tron now, which is weird. We cut to the commentators, who let us know that due to the opening brawl in the opening segment, we are going to get Cole and Strong of the Undisputed Era taking on the team of Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee. Now, I like this on a bunch of levels, and they didn't hit it over the head on commentary. They just sort of left it out in the ether, left it out in the air. But there's a lot of stories going on in those pairings. Cole and Strong versus Dream and Lee. It's sort of champion versus champion, which is cool. You've got Dream, who wants a shot at Cole's belt. You've got Strong, who lost his belt to Lee. There's a lot of crisscross of basically NXT title history within that main event that we had announced for us. I really hope nothing goes wrong with the main event. Let's move on. We're moving on. We replayed. Now this is a rough one because I think it's hilarious. I really do. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I don't think anybody losing their job. The fact that everybody's referring to last Wednesday as Black Wednesday does have some relevance and does have some weight behind it and does have some legitimacy behind it. But then people, assholes like me, even though it wasn't me this time around, started saying, hey, isn't it kind of funny that this all happened right before the Cruiserweight Classic or the Cruiserweight interim tournament, and wouldn't it be funny if in amongst all those real firings, Drake Maverick's firing was kayfabe and they were going to use it to get him sympathy going into the tournament. And my God, didn't they do exactly that. They played his Instagram or Twitter video, whatever it was, followed by some follow-up comments and how he's going to go, and everybody in this tournament's great, I'm going to give it my all. I'm fighting not only everybody else in the tournament, but I'm fighting myself as well, and it's really good. And Drake Maverick's match is coming up next from Group A, because they got Group A and Group B, because it's the G1, isn't it? No, it's not. It doesn't have to be. Moving on. But from Group A, we have Drake Maverick and his matches against Jake Atlas. I don't know a thing about Jake Atlas. They show a pre-taped sort of highlight package, sort of interview thing. And I'm not going to say that he sounds like a bit of an SJW, but he sounds like a bit of an SJW, so we're not going to linger on that too much. There's a collar double tie and a headlock by Maverick to start, and a set of pin attempts, a single leg takedown and a grounded headlock by Maverick, kicks by Maverick, drop kicks and a head scissor out of the ring, backbreaker by Atlas and a hard Irish whip, front slams by Atlas and a grounded bear hug. Atlas spears the post, and there's a combination of strikes by Maverick taking advantage of him spearing the post. Running knee by Maverick, missile dropkick and a suicide dive, an HBK-style elbow by Maverick and a super kick by Atlas, but a cartwheel DDT for the win by Atlas. And I can't... People who are more familiar with this guy, people who are more familiar with what he's done in Evolve, for example, will be able to tell me more. Is this a thing that he does? He's on the top rope and they sort of cartwheels so that he's doing a handstand on the rope, and from there he sort of tucks it in and turns it into a DDT. Now, a DDT... Even a tornado DDT isn't a finisher, but this is something. This cartwheel DDT, it's not necessarily the fact that it's a devastating looking finishing move, but anything that we see at this point, because everything's been done to this point, he's using the ring a little differently. He's using the ring a little differently, and if it's different, and if it looks different, and if it hits my eyeballs and it hits my eardrums different, I will take notice. And the cartwheel DDT is interesting. It's like when we first saw Grand Metalik do all the cool handstand shit that he does on the ropes during the Cruiserweight Classic, and then they put a piñata in his hand and put him on 205 Live, and we're never going to see him again. Serious question. When they were putting together the Cruiserweight tournament, why did they not bring in anybody from the Lucha House Party? Because that would have been good. I know they've moved on to the main roster now, and potentially they're both doing other things, but a temporary return from Cedric Alexander would have been cool. I know the rumor is that Ali is behind this hacker thing that's going on, but I would have loved to see those two come back. Definitely Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik. Kalisto for the hell of it, because he was one of the better things about 205 Live when it first started. Or remember when it was just the Cruiserweight era on Raw, and once or twice a night they just changed the ring so that it was purple because fans are idiots and we don't know that there's a Cruiserweight title match going on. Anyways, we see a better video package than what they did with Drake Maverick, and it was Damian Priest calling out Keith Lee, how he's been ducking him, and it made me think of the Mr. T scene in What Is It, Rocky 3, where he interrupts the press conference and, why don't you tell these fools why you've been ducking me? I'm never doing a Mr. T impression again. That's gonna get me in shit, isn't it? But basically, it's like, yeah, you've handpicked all your opponents. You handpicked Dijak. I wanted him to say you've only fought Dijak because you know you can beat him. And then goes on to say, hey, there was a triple threat, but you didn't do that. Regal did that, and even then you didn't beat me. But yeah, no, it's just, it's Damian Priest doing his thing, doing the whole, eventually I'm gonna get my hands on you, eventually I'm gonna get your title, and eventually my name is gonna live in infamy. And it pauses on this one really slow motion shot of him doing the thing that I love in his entrance, where he's lighting the Titantron on fire, and it's really good. You know what else is really good? The Cruiserweight interim whatever big long title tournament continues. More action from Group A with Kushida versus Tony Nese and his tiny knees. I don't know where the tiny knees thing came from. I first heard it on What Culture. I'm sure they didn't come up with it. Definitely not Michael Sidgwick. But it's funny and it works, and Tony Nese is a good foil for anybody that's actually popular. Front slam by Nese to start with a front face headlock and a reverse kick by, a reversal of the front face lock by Kushida. A trip by Nese, transition into a leg lock and a key lock by Kushida. A series of forearms by Kushida and flying hangman by Nese. Nese takes him, and he looks like he's going to give him a bulldog, but instead of giving him a bulldog, he jumps over the top rope to the outside, bringing his head with him, and hangs him up as he goes. I know it's the Cruiserweights, but even still, when you get somebody like Tony Nese, I don't expect any type of flying whatsoever. I expect there to be power. Because you're dealing with a lightweight division, stereotypically is always high-flying and always lightweight, and maybe not so much on the power game. So you figure a bodybuilder or a strength trainer in a Cruiserweight division would have a built-in, almost underestimated advantage over all the people, overall his contemporaries, would he not? Kushida eats the rail on the outside. There's a top rope lariat by Kushida when they get back in the ring, and then they take Kushida back outside again, and yeah, he eats the rail. Again, we go to commercial break, and I don't know if I've said this before. I want to think that I've said this before. There is a cringy. I'm watching this on an American stream because we don't get it on Wednesdays in Canada because we got fucked on that deal. So I gotta watch it on a stream of the USA Network. I will say it until my dying breath. My American friends, you have much worse commercials than us, and ours are pretty bad. But there is a CarMax commercial with Mojo Rawley that is the cringiest thing I've seen in a commercial in a long time. And it's not even that it's particularly bad, it's just that it's really lame. It's just this little nerdy guy that's trying to be Mojo Rawley's personal assistant, and he finds him a car, obviously because it's a CarMax commercial, and then he calls him hey Mojo Man, Mojo Jojo, Mojo-licious, and it's cringe. I shouldn't focus on a commercial this much, but goddamn, we know what the rest of the world thinks of wrestlers. We know what even wrestling fans think of a dork like Mojo Rawley. This ain't the move, is all I'm saying. But yeah, coming back from all that mess, there's a body scissor by Nese, and both men trade strikes and chops. Both men trade strikes and chops while they're on the ground, while there's a body scissor by Nese on Kushida. Hangman again by Nese, this time not over the ropes, just a standard from the apron into the ring. Dropkick by Kushida, wind-up punch, which made me think of No Way Jose, which made me sad once again because it made me think of the people that got fired. Rah. Armbar body scissor combination by Kushida, suplex by Nese, handspring heel kick by Kushida, 450 splash by Nese, and I shit you not, I don't know what to call this. You guys know I don't know what to call things. I just come out and say I don't know what to call this. They were fighting for a suplex on the top rope, and then Kushida sort of locks him into a key lock, and by the arm that he's got key locked, he superplexes him to the ground for the win. He suplexes him by his bent arm. It just, I get that Kushida's great. Everybody that I know that has known Kushida before he came to NXT, unlike myself, has regaled me with how awesome Kushida was, or is, or you should see him over here. You should see him over here where we don't have to give WWE credit for anything. So I know that he's a great wrestler. I know that he's got a reputation that precedes him, but this key lock suplex thing from the top rope, no less, it just looks to me like something that could go so bad. And I guess that's the point. Nia Jax has only been back a couple of weeks and she's already injuring people. We're not having a conversation like that, but it's a weird move. I didn't expect it. It was really cool looking. I just hope it doesn't end up, just dislocating somebody's arm from their fucking soul. We get a little more of that glitchy content, interspersed with the footage of Ciampa getting attacked last week by Karrion Kross. It's voiced over by some chick, which I'm assuming is Scarlett Bordeaux or whatever they're going to call her now. Didn't see either of them on the show. Did not see either of them on the show. There was no Ciampa because he's been taken out, obviously. There's no Karrion Kross to follow up on what he's done, which is kind of cool, because what would we have gotten? If Ciampa's not there to confront him, we would have gotten the brand new heel coming out and looking menacing on the microphone in front of nobody, being like, I did it because I want to plant my flag in NXT. So do the damage and fuck off, and in a couple weeks show up and randomly do some more. Almost like, I hate to say this because it's a main roster reference, almost like The Fiend. Just show up, fuck somebody up, and leave. I should say the early days of The Fiend, before they did the Hell in the Cell match that ended with a referee stoppage, and we don't need to talk about that because we're not talking about that right now, but it was alright. It was good. I didn't write notes for this next part. It was the Garganos sitting down to dinner and bragging about what they'd done to Tommaso Ciampa, and sort of doing what is a typical heel turn-esque promo, but it's just, you know, you don't get where you want to be by being the good guy. Johnny Gargano, the entire time he's delivering this, he's sort of going from, like, ranting to, like, you know, proud boasting to, like, ranting again, and they keep on changing the way it's filmed. They go from color to black and white to really saturated color to sort of muted color, and it goes with how he's talking. But the entire time, what kills me is, in a glass case on the center of the table is the jock strap from the One Last Beat match. Now, I'm going to say something here. We've got a lot of cinematic wrestling in the past little while to get us away from the empty arenas. We had the Firefly Funhouse, which was great. We had the what else did we have? We had the Boneyard match. Some people include the Randy Orton and Edge match in that. I really don't. It was just a brawl. We had that weird match between Moxley and I was going to call him Swagger, Jake Hager. And we had One Last Beat. And I'm going to say something here right now that nobody's going to agree with, because it's me, and why would anybody want to agree with me? Of all the cinematic wrestling we have seen so far, One Last Beat was the best. Absolutely the best. There was a lot of historical significance to what they did with John Cena and The Fiend, and it was really awesome, and I loved it. And NWO John Cena, and we saw Prototype, and we saw all kinds of shit, right? And that was good. And while the larger audience may not appreciate it, they did the same thing without going over the top in One Last Beat. People don't like it because they've gotten way too much of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, but those are the same people that try to say that NXT doesn't have long-term storytelling. So I really don't know what to tell you. Now, with the announcement that Money in the Bank is taking place at WWE headquarters, and they're going to start in the lobby, and they're going to climb a whole fucking building, and then get to a ring, and then get to a briefcase, and that's going to be another one of these cinematic things, maybe that'll bump it out, but I'm sorry, right now, and for God's sake, Gargano Ciampa One Last Beat was in every way better than Ambrose versus Swagger on AEW. Even with Jim Ross commentating, and I hate to say that because I love Jim Ross, but there's no contest. There's absolutely, unless your bias seeps into your actual bones, you cannot tell me that Gargano and Ciampa was not better than Moxley and Hager, or Jericho's bitch, as they're calling him, which is great. Anyways, so we get back to this thing, and it's them. It's just them sitting around the kitchen table being cocky assholes, talking about how, you know, they did it the right way. They signed all the merch, and they met all the fans, and they hugged all the babies, and they sent out all the birthday wishes, and it doesn't always do you any good whatsoever. Now, he's going to be champion, she's going to be champion, they're going to do it for themselves, and everybody else can fuck off. I can't put into words, like, me telling you what they said. I guarantee you would get more out of looking this segment up on YouTube than you will from me just saying, they said this, and then they said this, and then they said this. And yes, I know that that's how my reviews usually go. I'm going to just say, do some homework. Go check out the Gargano and LeRae dinner table promo. We get a hype package on the #1 contender Io Shirai, and it's her, you know, WWE once again saying, look, we have people that speak other languages, and I don't like subtitles, so fuck that. I don't like movies with subtitles, so that can fuck off as well. I do like Io Shirai. my comment on that has nothing to do with it. But at the end of the promo, and it's just, it's all about like, oh, she's the queen and I'm going to go knock on the queen's castle. And then it ends off with I bow to no one, which is going to be good. Io Shirai versus Charlotte Flair is what the kind of thing we wanted coming out of Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble, which everybody said was such a bad idea, and then out of Charlotte Flair beating Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, which broke my heart. I like Rhea Ripley, you guys know this, but it broke my heart, and everybody else was like so sure it was such a bad idea until we did the ladder match, and you found out that you were getting Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai, and then you changed your fucking tunes, didn't you? Oh yes. Now I will say, I know they're stuck on the main roster right now. Bring them back to NXT. If the Kabuki Warriors expanded to 3 people and you got heel Asuka, heel Io Shirai, and heel Kairi Sane all in one sort of faction, sort of dominating the NXT women's division as it is as stacked as it is right now, that would be a lot of fun. And you would have to do what you did with the early Wyatt family and just throw random 3s of people together. I submit this to you right now. The 3-member Kabuki Warriors versus Caden Carter, Tegan Nox, and my girl Shotzi. Oh yes. I wouldn't even care who wins. That would just be a great fucking match. And I'm just fantasy booking now. Because next I gotta talk about Mia Yim versus Jessie Kanea. Kanea. I'm going to go with Kanea. I don't know if that's how it's spelled or that's how it's pronounced whatsoever, but it was a showpiece for Mia Yim pretty much. Jessie works the arm and there's a corner tackle by Yim followed by a headlock and knockdown by Yim, shoulder block by Jessie, kick to the back of the head by Yim, rolling kick by Jessie, mounted punches by Jessie, body shots by Yim, slingshot elbow by Jessie, a clothesline, a boot, a neck breaker, an STO, and the protect your neck. Mia Yim gets the win. This was Wrestling 101. This was very... I do defend Mia Yim because I think she gets a lot of stick that she doesn't deserve, but she, even with my bias intact, I won't say she's the best person on the roster. This was very, very, okay, you do a move, now I do a move, now you do a move, now I do a move wrestling. But this was just a platform to get Mia Yim out there so that Charlotte Flair could come down and say, hey, you know, I've never really gotten a chance to thank you for being my first match in NXT. You know, you helped me. That was the first step to me becoming the star that I am, and you've always been a good hand. Maybe you can be a star someday, too. The backhanded nature of a Charlotte Flair promo, it is brilliant sometimes. She does drone on, and she does drone on sort of like a blonde female Roman Reigns at times, but when she just sneaks in those little digs the way only Charlotte Flair can, it's still really good. So the challenge is sort of asked and answered. I thought she was gonna like take her out with the belt or something like that. She didn't. It's just like she got her dig in. It's like, yeah, I'm choosing you because you were my first match. Yeah, you're an all right hand. I can make you. You can make me look good. Is what it sounded like. And you know, step up to my level. All those types of things. And it's just the fact that I would almost say the fact that she didn't even think she was enough of a challenge to need to give her a sneak attack was worse than if she had just come down and done the typical thing of like jumping her from behind or hitting her in the face with the belt or something like that. She didn't do anything. And that says more. I mean, what's she going to do? She's going to go through a small handful of the NXT women's roster before getting to her match with Io Shirai. I hope, even though it's not a Money in the Bank briefcase Io Shirai's got, it is a briefcase, and I hope she sort of treats it like that, and I hope that match happens on the first NXT that's in front of a crowd again. I know everybody's saying, hey, here's this cool thing, let's save it until we have a crowd, but that would be really good, because why did I say Asuka? Charlotte is an outsider now. She came from NXT, but she is the main roster intruder into our NXT lives, is she not? And people like me that are fans of NXT are very protective of the brand, and it's like you're in or you're out. So somebody from within the brand, especially when she's been putting down the women's division in NXT so much, it's very much going to play as I'm going to beat you because I want the title, but also I'm going to beat you on behalf of our entire division, on behalf of our entire brand, and on behalf of our brand's fans. So there's a lot of things that they can do with one match, and it's really good. And then we get a really, really cocky poolside promo from Robert Stone talking about how awesome Chelsea Green is. He's directing the guy that's doing the Chelsea Green photo shoot by the pool, and then they just talk some shit about how she's tougher, smarter, faster, and then they name off a bunch of people. They take a shot at Rhea Ripley, which I don't see the point of, because as far as I know, Rhea Ripley's still stuck in Australia. Is that still a thing? Somebody tell me down in the box below or in the chat over there. But I mean, the Robert Stone manager character is just. I wish Robbie E was actually wrestling, and as we'll talk about in a couple minutes, you know, you could get Robbie E and DJZ, but DJZ is missing in action, and Robbie E is now Robert Stone. So I don't know. Jack Gallagher versus El Hijo del Fantasma. Somebody. And I know I say a whole lot, somebody tell me down in the box below, but legitimately, somebody that is familiar with Phantasma or whoever he was before now, somebody phonetically in the comment section tell me how I'm supposed to pronounce that. I'm not saying that to make fun of him, I'm not saying it to make fun of other people's cultures, I'm saying it to make fun of myself because I don't know how to pronounce it. To me, it looks like El Hijo del Fantasma. Somebody, please, genuinely, please tell me if I'm wrong. Jack Gallagher is out there, and he's got a weird sort of Game of Thrones cape thing going on. I don't know how new this is because I don't watch 205 Live. I did know about the tattoos, and his promo was about his tattoos, and the commentators were talking about his tattoos. Made it feel very much like, hey, remember Jack Gallagher? Well, he's got tattoos now. This is the guy that was tying people in knots and kicking them in the butt before, and now he's different because he got tattoos and it changed his outlook on I don't fucking know. He's not a bad wrestler. I just don't know how I'm supposed to take him. I hope it's not coming off like I don't like the guy. The guy's entertaining in the ring. Even when he was doing the comedy stuff before, he was entertaining in the ring. But then, as now, I don't know how I'm supposed to take him. That's it. And this was a short match anyway. Stiff collar double time, and Jack rakes the face in the corner. The entire match, he does rake the face. Anything that would have been a normal like poke to the eye or a pull of the hair was a pull of the mask. And even there are some points on the outside, when they get to the outside, where he's actually dragging him around the outside of the ringside area by his mask. And obviously, Phantasma's holding on to the masks because, you know, historical and cultural significance and all that sort of thing. I will say it was cool how much commentary drilled down on the cultural significance of the luchador mask and it's their entire persona, etc. I do like that they don't do it as much on Raw unless they're talking about Rey Mysterio, which is really sad. I mean, they're not going to get into serious conversation, as I say, with the Lucha House Party out there because they're comedy characters, and why would you? Front slam and a face lock by Phantasma, a seated headlock by Jack, a drop kick by Phantasma, drop kick by Phantasma, and he turns it into a modified neck by short, snappy wasteland type slam by Jack. Multiple pin attempts off of that. Forearms by Phantasma, who eats the rail on the outside. A lot of people are eating that rail tonight. That rail on the outside of the ring there, it's got teeth marks on it. So many people are eating it. That's my cheesy line of the night. Kick in the face by Phantasma and a slingshot to the outside as we go to commercial break. We come back from the break and there's kicks to the back by Jack, a seated armbar. He starts working the wrist. He almost looks like he's going to start doing some Pete Dunne, like, digit stuff, but he doesn't. Overhand chop by Phantasma. Corner spears by Jack. A suicide dive by Phantasma. A headbutt by Jack. Samoan driver, which is basically a Michinoku driver done by him. And that is the win for El Hijo del Fantasma. Yeah. In the back, we see him interview, or sorry, I shouldn't say in the back, in the parking lot, because that's where bad things happen. He's being interviewed, he's happy to be here, he's hyping up the tournament, rah. And the same people that kidnapped Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde try to kidnap him too, and he kicks them away, and they drive away. So, kidnap failed, I guess? Then we get our main event. Keith Lee and the Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. Champion versus champion, kind of. Old champion versus wannabe challenger. I don't know what else you want to call it. And Bobby Fish is on the outside. All four men brawl to start, punctuated by a mudhole stomp by Dream and a grizzly magnum by Lee. Fish gets involved almost immediately, and he gets kicked out by the referee. And on the other side of the ring, while the referee is distracted, Damian Priest shows up with his nightstick cane thing and gives Keith Lee, the current North American champion, a few shots to the throat. And he's out on the outside. He's incapacitated. As we go to commercial break, come back from the commercial break, and surprise, surprise, it's a handicap match, playa. No, that's not a Teddy Long thing, is it? Double team by Era on Dream, front face lock by Strong, mudhole by Dream, a hard Irish whip by Strong, a super kick by Cole, an angle slam by Strong, knee drops by Cole to the face and body blows by Strong, a backbreaker by Strong, and another one over the shoulder. He does the backbreaker over the knee and then picks him back up, deadlift over the shoulder, and does it a second time. That's a cool combination of moves. I do like that. Gets him to a modified abdominal stretch, and then, much like last week, for reasons, Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis, who's been killing people, and we've been highlighting how scary he is, and last week he stood in the crowd that doesn't exist with weird, creepy orange lighting on him and didn't do fuck all. He shows up, and he climbs up onto the apron, and he puts himself in Velveteen Dream's corner. And Dream, in the midst of all this, hits a Dream Valley Driver on somebody, and the referee just goes to Lumis, and he says, well, if you're going to be in the match, you got to grab the tag rope. And it's like, what? What? And then Lumis tags in. For reasons. He takes out Cole, he takes out Strong. Thes press and mounted punches by Lumis, followed by a spine buster. Dream dips in at the last minute with a purple Rainmaker and gets the pin on Adam Cole. Baby. And Dream and Lumis, who's not in the match, are announced the winners of the match. So how did this go? How did this go? We were supposed to get Velveteen Dream versus Finn Balor tonight. Finn Balor was taken out in some sort of, I don't know what, because all we saw was his messed up dressing room. We had Adam Cole coming out and saying that Velveteen Dream took him out because he was trying to get a number one contendership. Now, the implication is maybe the Undisputed Era took Finn Balor out because they were worried that it was going to be a number one contenders match. So that's fine. So then we get Velveteen Dream, who was supposed to be getting ready for Finn Balor, instead getting jumped 3-on-1 by the Undisputed Era. And because he's a good guy, Keith Lee interjects himself into the mix, and we get a really interesting tag team match out of that. Keith Lee has his own problems with Damian Priest. He gets a shot in the throat because of reasons we're going to talk about momentarily. He's taken out of the match. And Dexter Lumis, for reasons. Except he actually did stiff in this match. He didn't just stand there and try his absolute best to convince his opponents and the commentators and the viewing audience, you and me watching at home, that he doesn't blink. He did more than that. He did a lot of cool shit in a very, very short, condensed amount of time. I enjoyed Dexter Lumis more in the little bit of stuff that he did tonight in this match than I have in any of his squash matches, in any of his other, I'm just going to stand around and be weird and make you wonder if I have children's corpses in my basement. Let's not do that. Let's do more of this. If we do more of this, if you want to throw him in pile of people matches where he's just the weird guy, that's fine. But if you're just putting him in squash matches where we don't know the other person either, and all we have is, okay, you're the weird guy, I can skip this. But that's a hell of a trail to go to, where Balor would have been a distraction for Dream anyway, because his goal is Adam Cole. That rhymed. I'm not doing this intentionally, I promise. So, distraction by Balor, inclusion of Keith Lee, multiple attacks by the entire Undisputed Era, random surprise new partner in the last minute with Dexter Lumis, ultimately getting the pin on Adam Cole, which could bring him right back to what he wants, which is that championship match. That, as much as I'm still not sure about Dexter Lumis, as much as I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get Dream versus Balor, to be fair, that brings us right back to him and Adam Cole in a way that's much better and much more logical and concrete than I would have expected, even from NXT. And you guys know how much credit I give NXT. This was surprisingly coherent and surprisingly logical from what seemed like a lot of moving parts and a little bit of what the fuckery. Now, let's look forward. Let us look forward into the future, because there's a lot of funny things going on. a lot of fun things going on, not funny things. Now, taking a look at the rankings for the, the round robin, you know, don't call it a G1 tournament for the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Kushida's 1-0, Maverick's 0-1, Nice is 0-1, Atlas is 1-0, Swerve is 0-1, Phantasma's 1-0, Tozawa is 1-0, and Gallagher is 0-1. That's not very exciting right now because every single one of them has only had one match. It's just a matter of which side the one is on. I'm going to keep doing that as this thing goes on because I do, in the short term, I like it. If they are using the Maverick retirement or firing or release or whatever as a gimmick, as an angle in this tournament, I am going to laugh at everybody else losing their shit over that. But also, regardless of whatever other matches we get from that tournament, we are also getting next week non-title Charlotte Flair versus Mia Yim, and for the North American Championship we have an injured Keith Lee taking on the challenge of Damian Priest. Next week is going to be really fun to watch. I'm predicting that tonight's show won the Wednesday Night War, and I'm not even saying that vindictively. I haven't watched AEW yet, so I'm kind of guessing blindly, but the past 2 weeks it's only been an inch, but NXT has actually ousted AEW in the past couple of weeks. And I am going to quote the great Dominic Toretto. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.